Hey, it's Robert Beard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. These podcasts challenge you to grow as a leader, to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and to 10x your company. I really encourage you to enjoy the show, share it with teammates, fellow business owners, and subscribe. That helps us grow our community. This podcast is sponsored by Bum Data, helping commercial landscapers turn labor data into smarter decisions with intuitive, actionable analytics. Check them out if you're ready to control your labor costs and boost your margins. When you mention Wilson T60, you'll get 1 month free subscription to check out this amazing software. Hi, this is Robert Beard with the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Really excited today to be joined again by Frank Annino. Frank, good to see you.
Great to see you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're looking good. Are you enjoying life right now? You look happy. It looks as though you've trimmed up a little bit. And
Yeah. New year, new opportunity. As we talked 6 months or so ago, we had an amazing 2024, and we are out of the gate with all of our organizations just crushing 2025. And man, I'm flying high right now and so excited about what we're doing and can't wait to see how the year continues to unfold.
I know you were on 6 months or so ago, but we're always adding new listeners to our podcast. So maybe if you could talk about your background.
Yeah, make this short and sweet. Been in the industry for about 35 years. Had the great fortune of joining the environmental care ValleyCrest family in 1992, and from field operations, dragging brush, dragging a hose, and dragging my rear end, worked my way through operations and into, I guess you'd call it management. And as that story evolved, was given an opportunity to take a leadership role, branch management, regional management. Was part of the merger with Brickman to become Brightview, and then stuck around for about 7 years. 7 years ago, a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
7 years in January, I left. And so I've been with Sperber now for coming up on 4 years. And so I run as president of the maintenance services across the country on behalf of the Sperber brand, which, if you research, is really the ValleyCrest brand. And that just came from Richard Sperber wanting to put the band back together and drive a lot of the great success we had at ValleyCrest. And I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to kind of lead that charge. And as I said earlier, we're having an amazing time doing it, and couldn't be more happy to lead the day-to-day work effort that our people are going through, and thrilled to have this opportunity to share it with you.
For some of our, I suppose, maybe newer subscribers, give me some high numbers in terms of either revenue, number of employees, just to give us, I suppose, a scale of the organization.
We are roughly $400 million of revenue across 17 businesses and 40 branches nationally, from Florida, from the Southeast in Florida to the Northeast in Boston and Massachusetts, Boston and DC, into the Midwest in Milwaukee, West Coast, NorCal, Portland, Boise, SoCal, and even out to the Hawaiian Islands. And we have a stop in Arizona along the way, and still looking at acquisitions across the country. About 3,500 employees. Those 40 branches are manned by 40 branch managers with some regional expertise above them. And I think we have a functional leadership staff here at SLC or Sperber corporate of around 40 people that help with all aspects of supporting our businesses.
I work with another community, and it's a lot of W-2 employees who are looking to get into business, buying at different businesses, and could be landscaping, all these different service industries. And one of the biggest hurdles a lot of them have is, who can we find as good operators for the business? People who have maybe some experience in running almost like their own mini company. When I hear about the number of locations you have, number of branches, I think the key person within that is the branch manager. I'd love to just talk to you about, either how you train them or maybe how you build that bench to drive people towards that branch management level. Because I think that is, am I fair in saying it's probably the key position?
It is. I don't know if it's the hardest position. I think the account manager has the hardest position.
Right.
But the branch manager is the key flow on the things that really matter, which is growing your business, top and bottom line, developing the customer relationship, and driving culture for your people. And so everything that we talk about doing here is all around how do you do it through your people, with your customers to have amazing financial performance. And too often we get people in the industry that are thinking about financial performance first, and we just don't think about that way. We know that that's an outcome based on our investment and our support of our people, whether it's training and development or whether it's our investment in the relationship we have with our customers. Those two things go well then you don't have to worry about the financial side because it really takes care of itself.
Yeah, I often come across debates on, when I think back about the account management piece, should it be client focused? Should it be operations focused? Can you have that type of person who can do both well, which I think is a rare find. But when I hear you talk about the branch management, some of the key skills and being able to drive top and bottom line, they really have to be good at both.
Yeah, let me start it this way. I think the title's branch manager, and that's what the industry kind of leans to 70%, 80% of the time. But I don't think of them as branch managers. I treat them and expect them to be branch owners. When I'm having conversations, the decks that we put together for the ongoing trainer, you would see it that would say branch manager training, and we / the manager and we handwrite in owner. And getting somebody to think like an owner was the beauty of me growing up in the business with ValleyCrest, because I was given that opportunity. And if you hire the right person that has a good balance of what our people need and what our customers need, and now you're just kind of excitingly sharing with them what it's like to think like an owner, it actually answers the question, which is, what do you think you ought to do? Or if you were the owner and I wasn't able to help you, what would you do? And what you find most often to build people up is that they actually know the answer to the question. But they're not confident to make the decision because they're working in an organization. And so my job is to say, and I got this in spades growing up in this organization. I was never told what to do. As a matter of fact, I was rewarded for making mistakes. Honestly. And it's a joke within when I'm teaching, like I was rewarded and promoted to make mistake after mistake. The rule was never make the same mistake twice.
Right.
And so I encourage that at the branch manager level, the branch owner level. What's holding you back? What's the risk? And you won't learn if you fall down and you don't get back up. So think like an owner, and we'll treat you like an owner, and you're going to behave like an owner.
Any good examples that you could provide just to give us some context?
100%. We talk about growing the business, and growing the business, a lot of times we run into people that were either a part of the organization before we got there, or they're newer in that role of being owner. And when you're trying to scale the business and you're saying, hey, you want to sell new contract work, for instance, the less confident branch manager might think, well, I have a budget, and that budget is built on the margin. And that's true, the margin of that job. And so we say, okay, that's right, it is. But what are you really trying to achieve? You're trying to achieve trust with the customer to scale your business. And what does margin have to do with that? Well, they say, well, it has to do with my P&L. I got to make money. You put me in here to be an owner and make money. And so what we do is we teach that money is not just made by making margin off of the job. It's actually made margin off of the job plus overhead reduction. And so the teaching that we do is to say, let's think about more than the levers that have to do with labor and materials to get you to the margin. Let's think about in that world of labor and materials, are you running the job as efficiently to do the things you need to do and don't do the things you don't need to do to accelerate your margin? And even if you are you buying down your rent? Are you buying down your utilities? Are you buying down your office administrative costs? Are you buying down your indirects in your sales, general, and administrative services? Because you could be buying them down perfectly fine to drive operating profit without even monkeying with your margin. You can't do both at the same time. So that's a great example of where we teach people to think, if you're an owner, you're not just thinking about the performance of the job, you're thinking about the performance of the business.
Right. No, I love that. And that actually brings up a good question that, in my experience, a lot of sort of middle managers are not necessarily exposed to financials. It's often hidden from them. The owner doesn't necessarily want to see them, how much or how little money they're making. What type of program, how do you do that sort of financial education? Because that's often tough for people. People are great at operations. They love, grew up cutting grass, but when it comes to numbers, a lot of people just they get a headache.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of be really organized and thoughtful about keeping it simple, because I think we tend to overanalyze really what this business is about. It isn't that complicated if you kind of peel it back a little bit. It's really three things for me. So when I'm interviewing somebody to take that role, whether it's a promotion or somebody from the outside in, I think about it three ways, and that is people, again, in the same order I said, people, customer, financial. On the people side, we'll talk a little bit about what do you think helps you drive successful culture within your people? What do you think your customers, what do you want your customers to say about what you're doing for them on their jobs? And where are you thinking about what great financial performance looks like? I always try to do it in an organized way that carries the message through that I said in the beginning. P plus C equals F. People plus customer equals financials. And then we try to take things in small steps because people learn at different levels and they have different experiences. So we go into financials, we will break it down by type of service. We'll spend 30, 45 minutes every other month with a group of branch owners on contract maintenance success. And we'll talk about the range of successful margins. And we'll say what impacts that. Well, it's your average hourly wage. It's your cost of materials. It's your subcontractors. And what levers help you get there? Well, gosh, if I buy from the SLC or Sperber Landscape Company procurement list of vendors, you're going to get a rebate. Well, that's helpful because buying things at Home Depot probably isn't helpful. And we'll have that incremental discussion around it. And then we'll follow up in 2 months and spend about 10 minutes talking about what we learned last time. And then we'll introduce the new topic that might be enhancements. And we'll go to these categories by maintenance, enhancement, irrigation, tree, other services, and then we will go into what drives successful indirects, what drives successful overhead. And that's how we do it. And we think about it in 6 or 8 small training programs. And then we bring our branch managers together once a year for 3 days. And now we practice and we learn, we let them learn from each other. And that's probably where all of the rubber meets the road, is the collaboration that we see the branch owners do when you get people from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in from Kona, Hawaii, or from West Palm Beach, Florida, in with Napa Valley, California. That's where we really see the trajectory. But I try to keep it simple and be available for them when they get stuck at the end of the month wondering what happened.
No, I love that, especially the collaboration piece, because there's probably some branches that are outperforming some of the other ones. So for them to be able to share some real experiences of what they've done, some real best practices, and share that with some of the underperforming branches, that's probably, again, where the rubber meets the road.
It is. And so what's really key when you're having these conversations is that people, as hard as they work, and we have a really good pulse of our people. We've got some great people out there running the branches and account managing our customers' books. Nobody needs to feel like they're failing. Like, that's not helpful. I think of it like, here's an opportunity. Let's just point out the 2 or 3 things. And hopefully they are already self-critical. And we've got a culture that says it's okay to make mistakes. And what did you learn from it? And what do we need to do for the next, 30, 60, 90 days? So when we do the collaboration and we pull people together, we try to make it kind of learning from each other, not he's a high performer, so I want you to learn from him, and you're a low performer, and so you need to take notes. That's not helpful. That actually can destroy people's self-esteem. That just doesn't help move the company along. And I've just seen some amazing results, even in the last 6 months, of branches that have turned a corner that I would have thought took all of 2025, because we've kind of brought them into that place of safety to say it's okay to make the mistakes. Right. It's okay to take a shot at it. I trust you. And Robert, sometimes I'm not certain if I should, but you can't live it without saying it. And so we already see, like, I've got a couple of branches I could tell you right now that are flying super high after 3 months, that they were literally not doing well for the last 18. New leaders in there with total support and total confidence, and they are just crushing it. So I don't have to think about those anymore. I could go on to the next 2.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of new branch owners, sometimes struggle with, making that jump from being some type of a senior account manager or operations manager into that branch owner role. And often when, fires start hitting a branch, whether it be quality issues or, losing some jobs or something, they immediately dive in to try and firefight. And often they lose sight of maybe, the client communication piece. I was talking to an owner today, really successful company, probably 20 odd million. And, he said, hey, I've now got pulled back into the fires. I've lost contact with a lot of my clients I've had for 5 or 10 years. And I'm wondering why I'm losing jobs or not winning jobs. And it's because he's lost that touch with them. How do you deal with that type of scenario where you're constantly reminding the managers? Do you have a key set of KPIs to sort of help keep them on track? So you've got that balanced view?
Absolutely. Again, we try to keep it super simple. The branch owner's role, in my mind, is to be engaged with their customer experience. And I will even say that there have been times in some of our businesses we've lost sight of that. And we see it. We see it in the results of retention. And so we do a little bit of a reconnaissance, like who's got ownership of the top 20% of the quantity of jobs, because that makes up roughly 70 to 80% of the revenue. And we've had to go through that in a couple of spots as recent as the end of last year to make sure we reset that expectation. This is an imperfect business. So when I say it's simple, it's actually super complicated, because we talk about it being a moving, dynamic type of work. We think about that with plant material because it's always moving. It's not just the plant material that's moving. It's also water moves. Customers move, account managers move, vehicles sometimes don't move, tools aren't there, equipment isn't coming in on time, the fertilizer blend that we got wasn't right, somebody didn't understand how to put down the right chemical. There's so many dynamics for it that you got to keep things simple for the other person. If you get into the customer side of it, though, I think at the end of the day, you do have to be somewhat careful and confuse a customer being super satisfied with what you're doing versus the economic demands that they might be going through as well. So having that relationship, and I go back to my buddy and your buddy, Bruce Wilson. In 1992 when I got here, and I say here because it's generally the same idea. He had an old saying that has been resonating, and that is, your job is to build trust-based win-win relationships with your customers. And that's what I believe then, and that's what I believe now. If you have that, you can really stitch together that whole idea of having a great company culture, branch culture, account management culture around the customer experience.
Let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. Urcher is a life brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strausser. The mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Urcher makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow professionals who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Urcher isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results. When you contact Urcher, mention Wilson 360 and Zach and his team will take well care of you.
On the theme of Bruce Wilson, I heard him often be asked, at what point do you start thinking about splitting a branch? And I always, remember Bruce is saying it. I mean, it really depends on the person, but when the branch starts almost potentially start losing money,
right,
then that's when you should maybe start thinking about maybe splitting a branch. What's your philosophy around branch sizes? And
I think, first of all, you have to have a culture that you want to see that happen, that you don't have to do it for negative reasons, but you're encouraging it to be done for positive reasons.
Right.
And so you have to start at the start, and that is, if you're going to go back to the first of the three-legged stool of people, I think our obligation, I know my obligation, is develop people into a career path that fulfills them forever. And that means that there's somebody on that bench that wants to run their own business. And so you have to kind of start there to identify who is that person or who are those people. Next, you have to think of them in a next level leadership role, which means, are they going to have the bandwidth to know that taking on an ownership role in a year or 2 years demands a different view of their role than it is today. And because it demands a different role for them today, we have to very well understand that we have to prepare them for it. On the flip side, if you're going to incent branch managers that they get a percentage of the profit as a part of their compensation program, and they're driving an $8 million business and they're driving in 10% profit, and that's $800,000 worth of opportunity in which to win. And now you're going to split the branch and now it goes to 4. You have to have an incentive program built in that says, no, we want you to help us make the other person successful. So we have a formula here that actually is simple. And that is you get basically a split your branch bonus for doing it. And then you get another bonus if you support the new branch to be successful.
That's great. I love
So that's how it is. But it all goes back to having the right people and then having the right kind of program that says we're going to reward that behavior so nobody gets hurt. And the pride is that you grew it from X to Y. As far as when to split it, I haven't thought about splitting anything for negative reasons. I've done it to see where I might have opportunity. If you have one branch manager running a $20 million business, and I don't know where the problems are, I might split it because I might have a lack of visibility into where the problem really is. And that allows us to uncover the opportunities and then target specific issues rather than global issues.
Makes sense.
So as far as doing it, look, I did it a few times. I will say I would get up to $8 million. I'd get up to 100 customers, and I'd have 5 account managers, 6 account managers. And my direct reports went from 4, 5, 6, 7 to 10, 11, 12. And I know what it felt like to shake. I knew what it felt like to not just lose work, but lose the community of customer trust that I had and established. And I didn't have the time for my account managers. And so what I did was I would start to think, I'm going to start having a negative experience if I don't start to see that there's a way for me to provide the next career path for the next senior account manager. And so I try to make it a positive experience. For me, it worked. And so that's what we try to do here.
About another minute or so, but last question from me. You touched on this, that, starting to build that bench. And I think I've seen a lot of companies not necessarily look low enough, where some of those hidden gems, maybe in the field workforce, the Hispanic workforce, maybe we're not asking the right questions. I know Bruce was all talk about, one of the people in Conserve that, just he uncovered some amazing skills this person had and went on to become in leadership. But what's your philosophy around, when should you start doing that, and how should you start looking for those that hidden talent?
This is a full podcast by itself. But I think our future is based in 3 places. Promoting from within, the collegiate opportunity to bring fresh, young, smart talent on, and the senior-like experienced account manager that may not have had the success in the last place, that knows a lot, that wants to come on. And there's danger in all 3. The one that I am hell-bent on exploring and solving is the one thing in this industry that's been plagued it for years and years and years. And that is bringing up somebody that is of a different culture than what we have here today. I have this in Hawaii with some amazing Filipino operators. I have this in Florida with some amazing Haitian operators. And I certainly have it in West Coast with some amazing Hispanic operators. And it's really one thing. It's confidence of communication. And I'm going to solve this for us, because before I hang up my pruners, it's the one thing I think has plagued this industry for years and years and years that we haven't solved. And we are not touching the untapped potential of that amazing operator that doesn't quite feel comfortable communicating to the customer to move into the account manager ranks and eventually move into the branch manager ranks. And I would love to talk about that more, because I've got something to say on that one. And frankly, it can be a game changer. And I'm seeing a little bit of it happen here and there, but boy, oh boy, can that help an organization not just grow as it would, but culturally, what does it say to the rest of that field level? Like it says, I have an opportunity to grow my career and take care of my family. And at the end of the day, Robert, I think that's what we're here to do.
Well, let's get you back on. We can talk about that specifically. But Frank, if people want to reach out to you, learn more about your organization, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can certainly link me in and message me there. You can hit me at Annino, Annino, at SperberCompanies.com. And I'll put my cell phone out there. It's 805-732-4923. And I'm more than happy to continue the dialogue, because I just get terribly excited about these topics, Robert. And I so appreciate you allowing me to come on and participate with you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Always good to see you, Frank. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. We'll get you back on several times. So thank you again for stepping up, Frank.
Have a great afternoon and a great weekend. Take care, Robert.
Okay, take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I hope you're walking away with some great nuggets that you can immediately apply to your business, whether you're in leadership, operations, or you just want to show up every day with that Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentional moves, bold conversations, and surround yourself with the right people. If you found value today, subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with others. And again, don't forget to check out wilson-360.com. We have digital courses from account management, operational excellence, leadership development, or some of the other coaching packages we offer. Anyway, huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much. And I'll leave with this. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day.